If you want to help out and support the channel, there are a few things you can do. Go check out Flipside Gaming and use the promo code VOIDMAGE in all caps. This will get you 10% off all orders $10 or more. And if you go shopping on tcgplayer.com, go use my affiliate link in the description below. That way all purchases you make will go towards helping the channel. And lastly, go check out my Patreon. It's a more direct way that you can help the channel while also getting some more interaction. I appreciate all of your support. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Commander video. This time I want to give you guys 8 tips for entering competitive EDH. This is something that has gained popularity over the past few years as more and more people want to take what is usually a casual format and add some more interaction and give the format just a little bit of a different feel. It's all about control, it's all about answers. So let's start it off here with the first tip. You don't need to spend a fortune to make a good competitive EDH deck. In fact, you'll find out of the many deck lists online, a lot of the same people are going to make cheaper budget versions of the same deck. So a fully optimized deck might cost $5,000 to $10,000, but those people will also have links to deck lists where it may only cost you $500 to make the cheapest version of the deck. And while it may not function to the degree that the fully optimized deck will function, in a multiplayer game you can afford to not spend a fortune and just rely on your answers, rely on what your deck is capable of doing every turn. You don't have to spend a lot of money to be able to respond every single turn with good removal spells, counter spells, and a lot of really good staples for competitive EDH are going to be commons. The next point is that every mana counts, but it adds on to my point about being able to do something every single turn. That is just as important as having very powerful spells. The thing about competitive EDH is that the games are more condensed. You're not going to have a game that lasts hours. The average CMC is going to be cheaper. A lot of win cons in Commander take advantage of cards like Ad Nauseam. So you're not going to see very high CMC cards. If your goal is to just enter competitive EDH, you don't want to spend a lot of money, you should at least focus on trying to play cheaper spells that accomplish what you want them to accomplish. And the next point I'm going to make is that a lot of competitive EDH decks are pretty much the same deck. And what I mean by that is that with lands, with mana ramp, with cantrips, counter spells, removal, you're going to find that maybe 10% of the deck is actually unique to itself. They all kind of have the same control shell. So if your win con is Protean Hulk, you might have 10 cards in your deck total that actually help you win with Protean Hulk. Same thing if your win con's something like Food Chain. You know, give or take a few cards every now and then. The majority of your deck is going to be similar to other competitive EDH decks because it's about finding the most competitive cards. It's about finding the most efficient cards. You're going to see a lot of the same cards in every deck. Force of Will is a staple. Pact of Negation is a staple. They can stop your opponents from stopping your combo if you're tapped out. This isn't always the case. You're going to have some competitive EDH decks that break the mold. The next point is you're going to want to interact with as much as possible. So it's important to have cheap spells. It's important to be able to do something every turn. You want to get the most out of every spell you're casting. And while something like Path to Exile is cheaper, you're giving your opponent a land and you're only really capable of dealing with a creature. Whereas if you pay 2 mana, you can get an Assassin's Trophy, which will still give your opponent a land, but it could deal with way more. And this is competitive EDH. It's all about responses. It's all about your ability to stop your opponents as much as it is about your ability to combo off and win. Next point I want to make is that it's so important to have backup plans. The worst thing that can happen is if your deck is too linear. If you only have one win con and your opponents can effectively deal with it, you're kind of screwed. Going back to what I said earlier, a lot of these decks are the same control shell. So if you have no way to win, you're just playing control. Probably the best backup win con that you can have in your deck is Laboratory Maniac. Some decks play it as a main win con, but it's so easy to win with it because all you really need to do is play something like a Demonic Consultation or a Tainted Pact, empty your deck, and then draw when you have no cards in your library, win the game with Laboratory Maniac. But just make sure you don't have only one way to win. It just gives your deck that extra dimension, because sometimes it's very difficult to keep going on if you have no way to win. You're pretty much there as a spectator. And the next point I want to make is that while people have opinions on tier lists, while they have their feelings of what is the most powerful Commander deck for competitive EDH, and what kind of win con is the best, whether it's Protean Hulk, Food Chain, Lab Maniac, a Stasis Lock, there is really no reason to wave the white flag. You don't want to give up. You are playing in a 4-player competitive game, which means that it's not just up to you to stop combos, it's not up to you to stop win cons. One of the more annoying things about competitive EDH is the sense of one-upsmanship, and there's always this debate about what's the best way to go in competitive EDH, what's the strongest win con, when it's really about the rest of your deck. What are you actually doing to respond? How do you interact with your other opponents? That will win you more games than just having a Protean Hulk or having a food chain. And the next thing kind of goes along with it. Understand the expectations of your playgroup. You don't have to go full-blown competitive EDH. If you want to build a deck that is slightly more competitive, but maybe not fully optimized, let people know that, because I'm sure you're going to find a lot of people that are not spending thousands of dollars to build their decks, where you're not measuring your success by how many turns you can win in. This can also be used to decide whether or not you play competitive EDH in the first place. If you don't know a lot of people that play competitive EDH, you're probably better off not building one. And you know what? Sometimes that's okay. Nothing's worse than having one player at a table who's playing this insanely powerful deck when everyone else is just trying to have a fun casual game, and vice versa. If you're the only one at the table with a casual EDH deck, you're not going to be much help. Realistically, it's up to whether or not you want to play games with them, or you could just find another playgroup that plays more competitively, determine why you want to actually build the deck. And my final point, and this is probably the most important point for competitive EDH, whether you're playing it or you want to get into it, don't try to win as fast as you can. Again, everybody measures competitive EDH decks by how quickly they can win. Turn 3 or 4 seems to be the average, but this is a bit ridiculous because if everybody's playing a decent competitive deck, you're probably never going to win turn 3 or 4 unless they just have terrible hands, they have 0 counterspells, 0 answers. Games are going to last a bit longer than that. Since your deck is going to be majority control, you're going to play a control game. It's going to be about interaction. May not be a lengthy casual game, but you're going to be focusing on stopping your opponents. They're going to be focused on stopping you. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for the video. Hope this helped you out. Void here signing off. See you all next video. Just wanted to say thanks to the patrons who are supporting me on patreon.com. Go check it out. There are different tiers with their own rewards. One of them is having your name in the credits of my videos. I know it's not much, but it's something that I can do to show my appreciation. Thanks again, and have a good day.